Sightsee the Tarot is a series on my channel through which I take you on a tour of tarot books, spreads, techniques and tips, different decks, and more. Today's video tutorial will be a hands-on workshop, so please watch while you're seated comfortably in front of your reading space with a deck of cards ready to go. You're also going to want pen and paper nearby. In our guided tarot work today, we're going to be exploring personal prosperity planning with your tarot deck, inspired by exercises found in Mary Greer's Tarot for Yourself, a workbook for personal transformation. A 35th anniversary edition of the book is due out by Wiser Books later this year. Release date September 1st, 2019, and I received the great honor of writing the foreword to this new edition, so please be on the lookout. For today's installment of Sightsee the Tarot, I've modified Greer's methodology for prosperity planning just a bit for the purposes of this integrated journaling and reading session. You're going to be casting a prosperity mandala and leaving that mandala of tarot cards out somewhere for the duration of a week. So plan accordingly, because you won't be able to use that tarot deck for other readings during this week that your prosperity mandala is set. I'll just sit here and shuffle while you run off to choose a tarot deck for this prosperity planning session. Remember, all week, this tarot spread is going to be kept out on your table all week long. Pause the video if you need time to go pick out your deck. Okay, are you ready? Now start by going through your tarot deck to pick out 3 cards that represent what prosperity means to you. Instead of rushing through this because you know all 78 cards already and so you think you know exactly which 3 cards you want, no, slow it down, take your time. I like to actually order my cards, majors in sequential order, then all the wands, cups, swords, and pentacles, and really optimize this moment to handle all the cards and study and take in all the images, and then through a very comprehensive deliberation process, narrow down to 3. This slowing down and this process itself is magical, meditative. It's an act of sorting through the mess that is your subconscious and unconscious mind and bring a little tidying up and organization to it. There's a form of sympathetic energy work going on here. See, I'm not just putting my cards in order. I'm putting my mind in order. Get it? I'm organizing and doing some basic filing work within my inner library. Okay, once you've picked out the 3 cards from your deck that represent what prosperity means to you, set out the cards in front of you so you can have a good look at them. So this is what you say prosperity means to you. Okay, describe it with, words. Verbalize exactly and specifically what prosperity means to you. This prosperity you seek to manifest into your life. Take out your tarot journal and write it all down. The act of writing is magical here because you're sealing thoughts into the physical and material plane of reality. This is also a time to reflect on your relationship with wealth and prosperity. What are some of the commonalities among the cards you chose? Any recurring symbolism? What does the recurring symbolism indicate to you? Write out exactly in no uncertain terms how these cards should materialize as actual events in your life so that you will enjoy the prosperity you seek. Aspirationally and yet realistically, if these cards actually came up in a tarot reading for yourself, what do you envision they would have signaled? Reach high, yes, but know yourself and know where exactly you are at this moment in your life path so as to also be realistic about what's within your reach. Pause here, and I would almost try to insist that you don't continue until you've written out and filled up at least 2 full pages in your tarot journal, reflecting on what these cards indicate about you and your relationship to prosperity. I'm serious, this is important. Money is the primary universal method of rewarding people for their contributions to our society. So in this next exercise, start by taking a moment to think about what work you do that's rewarding to you. Now, if you complete that work, which is rewarding to you, how would you like society to commend or acknowledge you for that work? If you completed or produced this work, which you find rewarding doing, what does the reward you receive for that work look like? Go through your tarot deck and find that one single card that represents the reward you seek for the work you do. If the card you want to choose for this is already out on the table because you picked it for the last exercise, cool, your work is done. You don't need to pick an extra card. For everybody else, pause here and resume when you've selected your single card. You should now have either 3 cards or a total of 4 cards set out in front of you. First, think of these cards as a narrative of your past, as in these cards represent an actual reality of yours. Reflect on what specific past personal achievements of yours these cards collectively represent. When was the last time you felt like you actually achieved this prosperity? If you can't think of any, then consider what have been your barriers to success. We'll be addressing those barriers in the next step anyway, so here you'll be one step ahead of everybody else. Second, same cards, different space-time. Now write your future. Think of these cards as a narrative of your desired future. Say that these cards symbolize something about to happen to you, prosperity about to be gained. Journal that into a narrative story. You're going to write in your journal in affirmative terms what it is you achieve so that you receive these rewards. Think of this as writing a very, very short story, flash fiction or microfiction piece of narrative where you're writing out the aspirational achievement as if it actually happens. So your story needs to presume this achievement to be a reality, something that comes true. Pause here and resume when ready. One more reminder, take your time, invest a lot of effort here. If you're rushing through this and being hasty, taking shortcuts, you have to ask yourself, does this personality trait of yours represent why you've been experiencing roadblocks to financial success? Next, I want you to read word for word slowly this microfiction piece of narrative, this very, very short story that you just wrote to yourself several times. Then, after that narrative, write the following. Let what I have written come true. What I aspire for, what I have declared, shall come to be. May my words, imbued with my powers, driven by my will, come to bear me gratifying fruit. Then seal the text in some way, emphasizing it, being dramatic about it. Maybe you want to sign it, stamp it with a signatory seal, or even something as simple as doodle around it. Yes, that's so magical, really. Now pause here and resume when that is done. Now look through the deck and pick out one card that represents what you dislike most about money, or that reflect any negative or hostile feelings you get when you think about money, how much or how little money you have, or about having to earn money. After that, shuffle the remaining deck, fan the cards out across your table, and ask, what is the main barrier that is blocking me from furthering my prosperity? What is the main barrier that is blocking me from furthering my prosperity? Then draw a card at random. You should now have 2 cards that signify barriers to your prosperity and financial gains. Just to make sure we're all on the same page, at this time you should have either 3 open positive prosperity cards or 4 cards. If you went with 3 positive prosperity cards, then these 2 new negative cards you're choosing will be cards 4, the card you chose intentionally, and 5, the card you drew at random in a divinatory reading. If you went with 4 positive prosperity cards up to this point, then these 2 new cards you're pulling will be cards 5, the intentional card, and 6, the divinatory reading. Pause here and resume when you've got your 2 cards. Now study the 2 cards. What do these 2 cards have in common? How would you interpret the recurring symbolism here? What needs to be resolved for you to feel good about money? Take a moment here to log in your journal these 2 cards that represent your negative impressions of money and your relationship with money, and then why these 2 cards represent that. Pause here and resume when you're done journaling. Now, think about which tarot card might represent a remedy. Which card in the deck can work as an antidote to dispel the negative relationship with or attitude you have about money? What card is the key to removing the barriers and roadblocks? Here, I'm going to ask that you have to pick an additional card from the 3 to 4 prosperity cards already out on the table. So if your immediate thought is one of those prosperity cards you already picked is the remedy, try again. Wheel yourself to go through the remaining deck to select out an additional card, which will be your remedy card. This remedy card is the antidote or answer to how you remove the barriers indicated by the earlier 2 cards, either cards 4 and 5 or cards 5 and 6 for you, making the remedy card either card 6 or card 7. Pause here if you need more time. Now you should have set out your 3 or 4 prosperity cards, and then in a separate row, the 2 negative money cards. Immediately after the 2 negative money cards, you've got your 1 remedy card. To recap, you chose 3 prosperity cards, and if the single card draw for what you want as a reward was among one of the 3 cards, then after these 3, you selected cards 4 and 5 for your 2 negative cards. If you had selected an additional 4th card, then the 2 negative cards would be 5 and 6. Your remedy card, the road opener card, will be either cards 6 or 7. If what you see on screen is how your cards look, with 6 cards total, cards 4 and 5 being the 2 negative cards or barriers to your prosperity, then for this next step, you will be choosing 2 more cards. In doing so, you'll be eradicating the barrier cards. If what you see on screen is how your cards look, with 7 cards total, cards 5 and 6 being the 2 negative cards or barriers to your prosperity, then for this next step, you will be choosing just 1 more card. Shift over card 4 and remove your card 5 from the table. And then following the instructions to come, you will only be choosing a single card. At this time, go through your deck and pick out the cards that represent happiness and personal fulfillment to you. Okay, since we've now switched gears, let's identify this set of 6 cards with letters A, B, C, D, E, and F. You've removed the 2 negative or barrier roadblock cards from your reading table. You've added either 1 or 2 new cards to signify happiness and fulfillment. Pause here if you need more time to get up to this point. Now shuffle these 6 cards and get them as randomized as you can. Across your reading table, visualize a 6-pointed star inscribed within a circle. Or you can draw this sacred geometric diagram onto a sheet of paper or mat and use that for reference. At the 6 points of the star, you'll be anchoring it with one of these 6 cards. Keep shuffling your 6 cards as you listen on. Visualize the 6-pointed mandala across your reading table or physically set a representation of this mandala down on the surface. I then like to set out these 6 cards in a column off to the side, and I'll be drawing them at random. From the 6 cards you've set out, the first card you'll pick will be placed in card position 1. Card 1 represents the universe providing abundantly for your needs. Now go ahead and pick your card. Turn your attention to card position 2. Card 2 depicts you relaxed and at ease. This is how you feel. This is your emotional and spiritual state that the universe will endow you with. Now pick your card and set it into position. Card 3 depicts the happiness and prosperity you will be able to manifest into reality. Now go ahead, select your card 3 and place it into position. Card 4 depicts your remedy or the antidote for changing your negative feelings around money and thus remove all barriers to your prosperity. This card will work its magic to cut away that which had been blocking your access to fruition and material gains. Now go ahead and select your card 4. Set it into place. Card 5 depicts how you will be rewarded for your hard work and accomplishments. Now at this time, draw a card and set it into card position 5. And finally, the last card goes in position 6. Card 6 is the card for you to meditate and direct your focus on. So now go ahead and set it into position. Now pause here and jot down into your tarot journal your reading results and make sure you document what each of the 6 card positions indicate. Resume when ready. This is your Prosperity Mandala, and you're going to be leaving these 6 cards out in this position somewhere prominent in your home or living space, somewhere so you can look at it and reflect upon it every single day. Every day, you're going to journal and write one single page of notes, thoughts, ruminations, prophetic insights, anything and everything that orbits the theme of personal prosperity. Now, in your tarot journal, mark and reserve 6 pages for the next consecutive 6 days. So on the next clean page in your journal, after what you've been taking notes on, you'd write something like day 1. And let's just say, for example, it's going to be Sunday. On the next new page, write day 2, and so that's going to be Monday. I would also recommend jotting down the actual calendar date as well for your records. Then turn the page and reserve an entire page for day 3, which in my example would be Tuesday, and an entire page for day 4, Wednesday. Continue on, reserving a full page for day 5, and then finally day 6. I found that I preferred reserving an early morning time slot to do my journaling, but you might very well prefer an evening time slot for these Prosperity Mandala reflections. Whichever way you go with, try to stay consistent. Consistency here helps reinforce the mental power and will. Here is where my instructions end. If you need more structure, you can assign one of these 6 cards to focus on and deep dive into them one by one for each of these 6 days. Or if you prefer no structure, then you can simply free write, channel whatever impressions come up, and just let the spirits move you day by day. Even though I tend to be extremely structured, I found that I personally preferred to keep it open, and for each of the 6 days, I just recorded whatever spontaneous impressions were downloaded that day. Journaling, downloading info from the great beyond, and just good old-fashioned brainstorming for a week straight with Mary Greer's Prosperity Mandala was groundbreaking for me. I came up with new business ideas. I came up with solutions to some of the problems and roadblocks to financial success I had been encountering. Just by scanning the mandala while sipping on my morning coffee, I received really extraordinary psychic downloads about how I could optimize my finances in ways that would be more rewarding to me. I really felt like I gained an impressive amount of insight at so many depths and layers of revelation about my personal financial situation. Every new day that I looked at these same 6 cards, but with fresh eyes, I saw something new and different, gained another perspective, received another valuable insight about what else I could do to amplify my personal prosperity or feel more rewarded for the hard work I do. So if you're feeling stuck about personal prosperity planning, I hope you'll give this method a try.